Here are 10 mystical reasons why you're not rich. I'm Dr. Kara, and I went from being broke with 6 figures of student loan debt to being a millionaire with a complex portfolio, multiple properties that I own, and living the life that I love. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain of the 10 mystical reasons why I was freaking broke as hell so that you can learn from my mistakes and hopefully get rich too. I mean, let's be real. How are you going to change the world if you can't even change yourself? So here are the 10 reasons why I was broke at a mystical level. And once I addressed these issues, my life completely transformed at a financial level. Number 1, you haven't even defined what being rich means to you. It's super important at a mystical level to define energetically and in a literal sense of the word what you mean, because my definition of rich is probably very different to yours, but that's okay. What matters is you need to define your own version or your definition of what being rich means to you. When I was first starting out my financial journey, I wanted to feel rich by being able to spend anything I wanted, whenever I wanted. Didn't matter what it was. I also defined being rich for myself as being a millionaire. A millionaire in diversified portfolio assets, including the home I owned, property that I might have bought, cash in the bank, stocks and dividends, and other assets like cars, jewelry, whatever else. That was my working definition of being rich. Now, I'm talking about financial wealth here. Believe me, it's super important to be rich in other areas of your life, such as having healthy relationships, being connected with Gaia and the planet, and all sorts of other things that make a holistic, well-rounded human that is healthy and functional. But in this video, I'm literally talking about money. So it's really important to define what being rich means to you. Do you want to leave a legacy for your children, like an estate or generational wealth? Or do you simply just not want to be living paycheck to paycheck anymore? Maybe you want to attend that retreat, but you always worry that you can't afford it. Maybe just getting rid of that feeling is what being rich means to you. There's no wrong or right answer about what being rich means. But what is important is that you define it for yourself. Because how can you create a goal of becoming rich if you don't even know what you want? And if you don't know what you want, the universe isn't going to deliver it to you. Well, actually, it will deliver what you're putting out there, which is you don't know what you want. So define what you want. Define what being rich means to you. Number 2, you haven't actually acknowledged that you're not rich. So it's really important to acknowledge where you're at a conscious level. Because how can you change a behavior if you're not even aware that you have that behavior? So if you're acting like a poor, broke-ass person, you need to become aware of that. And sometimes this might be very practical, like you wish you had more money in your bank account or the ability to spend or buy things whenever you want. Or you might simply want to be investing towards your retirement and feeling like a responsible adult. Whatever it is, you need to acknowledge that you are not in a place where you're meeting your financial goals. This is really important at a mystical level because when we consciously look at the programs that we have running, then we can consciously address them. It's when those unconscious programs are running that our life is at the whim of whatever else or whomever else wants to dictate. So you have to be real with yourself. You're not rich right now. And I say those words right now because you can change them. But you also have to be honest with yourself that you're not there yet. And that's okay. Being real and understanding with where you are in your journey is really important, if not one of the most important steps, because you're acknowledging that you want to change. And without that drive to change, you won't. So be real and gentle with yourself. You're not rich yet, but you will be. Number 3, you're not committed to actually becoming rich. I see lightworkers fall for this all the time. They think that a big pile of money is going to fall from the sky or it's just going to magically manifest right in front of you because that's how this works, right? Wrong. It's not enough to want to become rich. It is important to acknowledge that you need to change, but the journey doesn't end there. You have to decide. You have to make it a goal to change. and refuse to give up. Back when I was a college student, my freshman year, I was looking at the reality of how much it was going to cost for me to go to school. If you're not familiar with education in the United States, basically it's extremely expensive and you have to pay for it out of pocket. I was in a situation where I had to pay for it on my own. My parents didn't pay me to go to school. I had to take out a ton of loans, student debt, in order to pay for my tuition. Now, I want to acknowledge here that I wasn't a victim. I consciously chose to do this with my life. And I don't regret it at all. But I do remember sitting in my dorm freshman year of college thinking to myself, I'm gonna have to make 6 figures or over $100,000 a year to pay off my student loans. So I knew at that point I had to find a job that would pay that kind of money. It actually changed the entire trajectory of my education career. I decided to invest in skills like computer science, programming, technology, front-end development, so that it seemed like it would probably help me earn a higher paying job than studying Japanese, which I was doing at the time. Turns out I was right. I actually ended up studying both, but it was that trajectory that ultimately led to my PhD, which ultimately led to my high-paying job at Coursera. But let's get back to the point. I made it a goal for myself to become rich, which at the time meant getting a job that would pay me 6 figures of salary so that I could pay off my student loans, which I knew was going to accrue and become massive. I found that over time, my financial goals have changed, which is actually really great because the more wealth you accumulate, you can move your goals and make them something else that's more situationally appropriate with where you are in that time of your life. Where I am now and my definition of rich is very different in my mid-30s compared to my early 20s. And I can't wait to see what it's gonna be like in my mid-50s or my late 70s. So this brings us to number 4. You're probably financially illiterate. I don't know about you, but I grew up in a household where my parents and my school did not teach me about finances. Some parents do, and maybe even some schools or universities do, but I didn't have that situation. I had to pretty much learn everything on my own by my own experience. And here's the thing, I don't know very much. But I realized that if I wanted to think and be a rich person, I needed to start thinking and acting like one. So this is when I decided to educate myself about what rich people do, who they are, and how they become rich. So I decided to learn more about the people who were self-generating millionaires or billionaires. Generational wealth is a different thing, and there's nothing wrong with that trajectory to becoming wealthy or having lots of wealth. But that wasn't my situation. I wasn't going to inherit millions of dollars from a deceased family member, at least that I know of. Still open to that possibility, but highly unlikely that that's going to happen. So what I did is very practical, but there is also a mystical element to it. I started to study rich people and map to what they do and how they approach life. So there are 2 sides to this. One, actually learning about how to create wealth is a very important skill. I taught myself the very basics, like how to build a budget, stick to it, how to save money, how to pay off debt, and how to plan for the future, especially when I was younger in life and didn't have as much money to go around. Most of my early 20s, I was working 2 to 3 jobs while going to school full time, living in a highly expensive area of the United States, and paying for an extremely expensive PhD. But I figured out how to make it work by learning how other people did it too. When I got a job, then I realized that I needed to learn different skills now that I had a more predictable salary and income. This is where I learned about investing in the stock market, 401ks for saving for retirement, or even just saving your cash and what you can do in high yield savings accounts or CDs and other tools that can help you save money over time when you have more money to spread. So the practical skills are a really important part of it, but also are the mystical skills around financial literacy. I decided to study rich people and map to them at an energetic level. And what I mean by this is you watch their YouTubes, you read their books, you follow them on social media, you try to learn everything you can about these people and see what do they do with wealth? What is their mindset around wealth? How do they use their wealth? And what really blew me away is that these rich people have a very different relationship with money than poor people. So at a mystical level, I would literally play all the podcasts that I could, all the videos, read all the books that I can to infuse my body and my life and my information, unconscious brain and conscious brain with that energy of wealth. So it's really important to learn how money works at a practical level, but also an energetic and mystical level. Because at the end of the day, wealth is all about chi, an exchange of chi or energy. And even behind that at a mystical level, it's really just a representation of Gaia. So once you start to embark on a journey of becoming financially literate at both a practical and energetic level, this will transform your life. Number 5, you don't have an income, or the one you have isn't enough. There are so many lightworkers I know who literally don't have a predictable stream of income. It really surprises me. You need to change this behavior. Get off your high horse and fucking get a job. If you already have a job, get a better one. If you own your own business, make your business better. Make it more predictable and get more cash into the system. I'm not trying to be harsh, but we need to deal with the very fundamentals here. If you don't have any money coming in, how the hell are you gonna get rich? The key is that rich people have more than one income stream. But if you don't even have one, or the one you have is a little trickle of wealth into your energy field, it's not gonna grow very much. So start at a practical level. Get a job, get another income stream, or make your business more profitable. And if you don't know how to do that, go back to step 4. Because again, if you want to transform the world with your gifts and your unique superpowers, how are you going to do that if you have no money to invest in yourself, let alone others? The world needs more light workers on the planet who have the ability to do, aka they have a lot of money. Think of all the amazing projects you could build if you had $1 million in cash right now. That's what I'm talking about. But you have to start somewhere. So if you don't have a steady income or you want to create more income, that's where you should start. Number 6. You think that being rich makes you evil. So this is a big program in the human collective. There have been billions of dollars of propaganda spent on the idea that money is inherently evil, or it makes you evil if you have a lot of it. This is not a coincidence. The actual billionaires and trillionaires on the planet want you to believe this so that you can continue to be disempowered and be their financial slaves without any oversight. Because think about it, if we had even just 5 billionaires on the planet who were light workers, it would be a very different planet. And there's the program. All the billionaires on the planet must be evil. Not true. A lot of millionaires and billionaires on the planet are normal people and are just living their lives like anyone else. So that program of being rich makes you inherently evil is super problematic because it's programming your unconscious mind to not go there, which means you'll never become rich. This belief will sabotage you every single time. Money is a magnifier, not a corruptor. Unfortunately, this program is even worse for women because we've been conditioned to think that powerful, rich women are bitches, nasty, and will destroy the world. If you don't believe me, think about the most famous stories in pop culture. One example is Game of Thrones. Who were the 2 villains of that story? 2 powerful women who were fucking rich. So ladies, unfortunately, we're gonna have to do a lot more work to reprogram ourselves and think that being rich and powerful is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not easy, but there are ways to do it. And the more you step into your power, the more money you actually will attract. If you're wondering how to process the program that being rich makes you evil, then do the fear processing exercise. All you have to do is simply replace the word fear with being rich and do the exercise. The link is in the description below. Check it out, it's free. Number 7, you don't have marketable skills. If you can't solve a problem that people are willing to pay for, it's gonna be really hard to get rich. This is true no matter what kind of career or what kind of business you have. The more high-paying skills you have, the more that people will pay you to get access to those skills. One of the most important things you can do in developing your wealth mindset is to continuously learn. Your skill development should never stop. There's always more to learn. There's always more you can do to get better. This is true in every area of life, not just gathering wealth, but it's really helpful for business or for up-leveling yourself in your job because people will want to pay you more the more stuff you can do and the more you know. Now, if you don't have any high-paying marketable skills, then make the time and the investment to go get some. Whether that's going to school, taking an online course, or joining an apprenticeship, you need to make sure you take the time to develop highly marketable skills. And think of it this way, if you need to pay money to get that skill, it's an investment, not an expense, because people can't take away your experience and your skills. So continue to skill up yourself for the rest of your life. The more you do this, the more money you're going to see coming your way. Number 8, you don't have good allies. What successful or wealthy person do you know who has built their empire by themselves? Literally no one. Every successful person, no matter who they are, has an entire team behind them. This might come out as a shock for our lone wolves out there. Believe me, I used to be one. But the truth is that you can't create meaningful wealth without other people. This starts with very basic principles. If you want to start a business, you have to sell products to other people. It literally includes other people. If you want to scale that business, you can't literally do every single job on your own indefinitely. You might do that at the beginning, especially when you're just getting started. But what billion or trillion-dollar company do you know that only has one person working the entire thing? Yeah, I didn't think so. But here's the thing. This is also true at a mystical level. You also need to have allies who support your wealth goals and ambitions. If you've ever heard of a mastermind group, for example, a mastermind group. A mastermind group is a group of allies who gather together and support each other's financial success or other specific goals. I had no idea what a mastermind was until I started to do the steps that I talked about in step 4. I discovered that masterminds are a very common business practice and principle. And there's a reason for that. It works. At a mystical level and a practical level, you are surrounding yourself with people who have the same energetic frequency that you do in terms of your specific goals or metrics of success. So if I wanted to join a wealth mastermind, I would surround myself with people who also had similar goals or bigger goals than myself of becoming wealthy. This is really important because you have multiple people with tons of experience who are supporting each other in achieving those goals. If you have someone in your life who might have poverty programs and want to stay poor, that's really dangerous. That person is not going to want you to succeed because they're going to want to stay broke. So if you join a mastermind, then you will be joining that group of people who have not only similar goals, but they'll actually promote your success. One of the most common things that I see, especially with broke lightworkers, is they're surrounded by people who are more than happy to stay poor. In other cases, you might have a spouse, a family member, or a friend who doesn't share the same financial goals as you do. This can be really complicated and tricky, especially if you share financial wealth lines with these people. Were I in that situation, I would try to detach myself from those financial lines as much as possible so I have more control over my finances as well as energetic control of who is polluting my energy field with negativity and thoughts of poverty. And this is why masterminds are so important at a practical and a mystical level. Practically, you can talk to someone about how to achieve your goals, but at a mystical level, you're surrounding yourself with people who are resonating at that same frequency, wanting to be successful. So again, you must gather really good allies because you can't do this work alone. The more you come to terms with this and truly embrace that you need a team of support, the easier it's going to be for you to become rich. Number 9. You're not doing your inner work. So your outer wealth mirrors your inner wealth. Again, if you have subconscious blocks that are preventing you from getting rich, it's gonna be really hard. If you have unconscious programs running in the background that becoming rich is making you evil or really scary because you're a powerful woman, You're going to need to address those subconscious blocks. One of the best ways you can do this is to heal your relationship with money. There's a free exercise taught by my mystical teacher about how to reconnect with the spirit of money. This totally transforms the negative programs or subconscious blocks that we might have or have running around money itself. It's a very beautiful exercise and it's completely free. I've put the link in the description so you can check it out. So by healing your relationship with money and processing your fears, this is you doing the inner work. I see a lot of people who might be very externally focused, where they might be working 3 jobs or doing everything they can to save their money or launching a new product line for their business. But if you have these negative programs running in the background, they're gonna sabotage your work. So no matter how many product launches you have, if you think that no one's going to buy your products, no one's gonna buy your products. So this is why it's really important that you look at your inner programs that might be limiting you in a way that's preventing you from being rich. The inner work is just as important as the outer work, and vice versa. You can't just sit on your couch, process all day, and expect to get rich. You actually have to go out in the world and do stuff. But at the same time, if you're doing stuff but still running sabotage programs, that stuff isn't gonna work either. So do your inner work and then have your outer work reflect that. Which leads to number 10. You're not taking daily action. One of the things that I realized is that if I wanted to become rich, I had to make it a priority in my life. And what this meant to me is that I wanted to work towards my wealth goals every single day. One of my favorite tools, regardless of what it is just to do 5 things a day that help you get towards your goal. Now that might sound super overwhelming, but those 5 things can be really small. For example, if you're just getting started, maybe one thing could be you pick up a new book or podcast that teaches you about the stock market. Or it could be updating your resume so that you can go find a different or better job than the one you have now. It could also be optimizing your social media marketing so that you can have a more beneficial cost ratio to your paid ads. Whatever it is, just do 5 things a day that reach you towards your financial goals. And what you'll find is those 5 things add up. Momentum compounds, but you have to start. In my experience, getting started was some of the hardest steps in the entire process. But once I got into a good flow or rhythm, or even made it into a routine, it became a lot easier to embrace my wealth mindset and to make practical steps every single day to bringing more wealth into my life. And I have to say, it worked. I went from having over $120,000 in student loan debt to paying all of it off with cash way ahead of schedule and having over $1 million in assets in my bank account. Now, I didn't do that overnight, and I want to be really clear about this. It is a process. If you really got your shit together, you could actually drop all of those negative programs and become a billionaire like that. Personally, I haven't gotten there yet, although it's definitely something that I'm working on, but that's the beauty of this work. It's a reflection of us taking charge of our lives, not being victims, and becoming what it is we truly want to be. So remember that wealth isn't reserved just for the lucky few. Wealth is something that you build. If you get really crystal clear on your definition of being rich, what you want to achieve at a financial level, processing the negative programs and blocks that you have at an inner or mystical level, gather strong allies, educate yourself, and work every day towards those goals, you will be amazed how much it transforms your life. So if you're ready to rewrite your wealth story, to stop wishing and start building, I've created a Substack where I'm sharing all of the details about how I went to broke ass bitch to wealthy fuck. I've created a Substack where I'm sharing everything that I did to go from being broke to a millionaire. I'm writing in a way that is from both a mystical and strategic perspective so that you can take these learnings and apply them in a very practical way into your life. The link is below if you want to check it out. So come join me and let's get rich together, because you were never meant just to survive. You were meant to thrive.